Alright, I want to explain how these vacuum door locks work in the 68 Fords and Mercuries. You've got your vacuum switch down here, and actually Ford called these power door locks vacuum operated. So I did this in the video when I did in the car, or that I did on the car, but see, you hit the switch and vacuum pulls the knob down, and you push the switch up and vacuum pulls the knob up. The car's running, so we got great vacuum now. And then even if we shut the car off, you can lock and unlock the doors a couple times. See, third time you're done. So, and even if the car sits for a while, I mean 10, 15 minutes, the vacuum bleeds off and they don't work anyway, but they're fine if the car is running and, you know, the doors are locked, or, you know, if you want to get out and you want to lock this door, you can get out and hit the door lock. But just remember, you have to push the button in on the door handle when you close this door, or this one will pop it right back up. That's what they called keyless locking back then. But, or if you're running around with the doors locked, say you're in a bad neighborhood and you pull up and you want to let somebody in, you can hit it and unlock the door for them. As soon as they get back in, just lock the door. So let me explain how simple this is. Let's go over here first. I got this laid out. See, this is a little dual, like, solenoid on a metal bracket. And this over here is the T coming off the intake. See, this one's got two, well, basically three really. This would come off the intake, and I'll show you on the car over there. Here's your main feed. That this would go to the HVAC system. And of course, this one's going to the door locks, and this one goes to the hideaway headlights on this car. So there's your main supply, and it comes over here into this check valve, which is supposed to keep it from bleeding off, but that didn't last very long. So, and then this one here is short, and it goes all the way to the storage tank for vacuum, which I don't have one, I guess. I sold a lot of this stuff because I'm not planning on using it, and I'll explain why. So there's your main feed coming from the intake, goes to this check valve. So as soon as you shut the car off, this check valve closes, and this one going to the storage tank keeps vacuum stored in that tank. And then this one comes through the firewall. This is your main feed, and it tees off here, and one goes over here and then tees off again right there and goes to both of these vacuum solenoids. And here where it tees off, it goes to it tees off and feeds the solenoids, but it also tees off and goes to the vacuum switch. Then you've got green and white. It's funny because these are all color coded. Like, your main supply is red coming through here, and it's feeding the switch, it's feeding the solenoids, and then the white and green is your triggers that also come over here to the solenoids and go in right there. And then these come out. This one goes, we got red and yellow that goes over to the passenger door, and we got red and yellow that goes over to the driver's door. You get over here, and this is right before it goes in the door. You would have just metal tube connectors to connect this for a two-door car. But if you got a four-door car, there's T's in here, so where one can go in the front door and then they can drop down, and 2 hoses could go to the back doors on each side of the car. And here's the solenoid, the door lock solenoid. And see, they are even color coded. Let me get these unplugged. See the little nipples on there? The top one is red, the bottom is yellow, to make sure that you don't put these on the wrong one. It's hard to do everything with one hand, geez. So anyway, that's what's inside the door that's pulling the door lock up and down, locking and unlocking the doors. That's all there is to it. Other than the storage container, you're looking at a complete vacuum door lock system for a 68 Ford and Mercury. 2-door. If you got a 4-door, like I say, you got T's, and then 2 hoses go to each back door. But that's all there is to that option. And it's mounted right up here on the steering wheel support, right there. 2 little screws. That's where the little dual solenoid control is mounted. So show it to you on the car. Here's your main feed coming out of the intake. And here's the dual T, like I showed you. This one is going over here to the storage tank for the HVAC system. This one is going to the vacuum headlights, and this one is going to the vacuum door lock, storage tank, and control and switch. See, it's going right out of this check valve here. This one's going right through the firewall right there, and then after it gets to the firewall, it tees off and goes to the dual solenoid I just showed you and the switch. And then this one continues on over and goes up underneath this fender. It's stored between the fender and this inner fender with a couple little screws up here holding it in. That's all there is to it. It's right there is your storage tank. There's no way you can get to it without pulling the fender off or taking the inner wheel well out. But that's where the hose is going, to the storage tank. That's all there is to it. And since they're not the least bit dependable, see here where the hoses come out of the door or out of the car and go into the door with the power window harness, they were always up higher. This is your power window harness. This is the vacuum hoses, but they wind up going through here together and going in one hole in the door. So here's why I didn't really care about saving all that stuff. I've still got bits and pieces. But I want you to look at this switch. See, this switch here that says door lock looks identical. See here, this is that switch, door lock. See, it's a vacuum switch. However, let's look at this over here, this convertible. There's the top control switch. See, it looks identical to the vacuum switch, except it's electric. It's got 3 prongs on the back that supplies power. So if I put door locks in my parents' car, as I'm putting it back together, of course it'll be right here, because this car has cruise control and rear seat speakers. That's the only thing left for this car to have a knob here. You've got your right air control and your speed control, rear seat speaker, and the lighter. So you've only got one spot left, and that's for the vacuum door locks. So if I do that in my car, I'm going to put an electric or a power switch just like this, the convertible top switch, over here in place of the vacuum switch, and I'm going to use wires. But I'm going to leave, see here, she's got this little dimple to show you where to drill out to put the vacuum hoses through. I'm going to run the vacuum hoses through. I'm also putting power windows in mine. So see, this car's just got the door speaker wire. That's the only thing, like we talked about in the last video. I mean, look at the differences here. That we talked in that last video about the two LTDs, and the one just has wires going through it to the courtesy light for the LTD, which wasn't available on the XL and the Galaxy. This one only has door speaker wires going in it. If you had power windows, it's wired for all this stuff. It's wired for door speakers, it's wired for the dome light in the door, it's wired for the convenience control panel, which my green car has over there. I installed in it. You can find that video. I'll put those other videos at the end of this video so you can click on it, see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to go ahead, if I do this in my parents' car, I'm going to run the hoses out so it looks like it still has vacuum door locks, but I'm going to run wires through them, and I'm going to put an original Ford power door lock actuator in the doors in place of the vacuum one. That way it looks all original, but it's a lot more dependable. So yeah, and it's also not going to have overspray over like this one does. But these hoses will still be here just like this. And there'll be wires. I'm just going to feed wires through them to the door lock actuator. So you open the doors. Oh wow, this car, you know, it's going to look just like this door lock, and it's going to look like original vacuum. And I'll probably go ahead and put this main hose coming out of the firewall, and I'll run a power wire through it and connect it to the power window relay, just like they did the power seat. See, if this car only had a power seat, it wouldn't have this power window relay, and the power seat and circuit breaker wire would be attached to the positive side of the solenoid, and it'll go right over there and go down and go through the firewall just by itself, just if you only had a power seat. But if you got power seat and power windows, you had your main power window wire over here with the circuit breaker. It went over here all the way to the solenoid, and then they just made a short power seat wire to jump at the same place where it's connected right there, and then it went down to the seat. So they had two different power seat wires, with and without power windows. So I just kind of want to show you how that vacuum door lock system works. It's really simple, really not much to it at all. You're basically looking at every bit of it right here without the storage tank. So, and it's the same on the Mercuries. And it's starting to rain. But here it is in the book. See, it shows it right here. The reservoir, the check valve, right where, and here's your intake supply. Here's the firewall. Here's where it goes through. And it tees off right here like we talked about and goes to the solenoids, and then it goes over to the switch. They're calling that control valve that has those two little unlock and lock right there. So I just want to show you guys how simple that was, and how, if you do have it, how you can convert it to electric. And I'll do that as I'm putting my mom and dad's car back together. Hopefully I can show you guys how I do that, but that's going to be pretty far down the road, I got a feeling. So anyway, that's all there is to it. I hope you found this interesting. I find any little gadgets like this interesting back then. Now, like back in 67 and back, you could even, I don't know if it was an option or if it just came with the vacuum door locks. It had something on the transmission that you got up to a certain speed and it automatically locked the doors. And they had all kinds of problems with it. That was not even available in 68, according to the manual. Thank God. So anyway, it's starting to rain, so I'm going to get this stuff closed up and get that air cleaner back on and call it a day, I guess, because I think it's going to rain the rest of the evening. So, all right. Again, I hope you guys found this interesting. Please hit that thumbs up, like the video, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of these. Thanks for watching.